What's up, everyone? I want to discuss something called Sinbyeong with you. It's something that deals with both a uh, spiritual and medical diagnosis. Sinbyeong is titled somewhat under a definition called self loss, but it's more than that. It's like spirit possession or deity possession, God possession, entity possession, even demonic possession. But it deals with someone who usually is found in the Korean shamanistic tradition. And this is accompanied by things such as, it's something that can't be cured by medical treatment alone. And so, um, um, and so the subject who is experiencing Shinbyong must have full communication with the spirit. Usually, the illness is characterized by some type of loss of appetite, insomnia, visual and auditory hallucinations. And the only way that they are able to cure a person who is going through Shinbyung is through a ritual called the Nudum Goat. Um, and that is a ritual that inducts the shaman or priest into the tradition and lineage of something called Muism, which is, shamanism or becoming a psychic medium along those lines. So, this is something, what I'm going to explain to you is something called Shin Byung. And like I said, it's under several different definitions, but I will try my best to describe to you what it is and how it can affect an individual. Sometimes the symptoms of Shinbyung vary to each individual, and as they're experiencing this thing called Shinbyung, they start to feel in commune with the spiritual world. And by being connected to the spiritual world, their bodies and their minds go through various episodes and experiences. Some of these are psychotic, some of these are physical pains, and it's usually some type of external shock or dream that brings the individual into the experience of Shinbyung. Some of these symptoms can range for like 8 years to many as 30 years because it is hard for the Shinbyung, the person or the selected individual to to communicate with the gods unless they go through what rituals are needed to exercise, these spirits from them so that they're able to commune better with them on a more spiritual level. But this comes at a price, such as people become sick, they begin to have problems that, like I said earlier, that the medical industry cannot help them. So it has been classified in things such as a certain type of mental disorder in the Psychiatric American Association, but it's followed by things such as anxiety and somatic complaints of weakness, dizziness, fear, anorexia, insomnia, gastro problems, and then the eventual disassociation of the person within themselves, and they are possessed by some type of ancestral spirit of that sort. So there is this experience, that the person is going through, which is kind of like a spiritual epiphany or ecstasy or awakening, and no actual psychiatric or medical facility is able to facilitate in helping this person unless they go through this thing called a nidungut, which inducts them into becoming a priest or a shaman or what have you, psychic medium, or anything that deals with the spiritual realm where you can communicate with the spiritual realm. In essence, the religious or the spiritual experience from this makes you the vessel that goes and becomes one with whatever spirit is out there, or God, or entity, or what have you. So, if you're a Satanist, you're calling upon certain entities, and they are possessing you. Or if you're a Christian mystic, you're calling upon certain angels to possess you too. So this, in a sense, in the Korean tradition, is that these spirits are taking over your body, and you are becoming one with them. You are the vessel that carries this. So therefore, it works with the what I'm trying to do is make a cross-cultural reference, because in America we have a tendency of not acknowledging these things, and if we do, we take them down a very bad path. We either, like I said, people going through these experiences, we either lock them up, or we do torture things and medication, seeing doctors and regimens. So what I'm saying is that, although the American Medical Society has finally come to consensus that this is an actual issue that does arise in an individual, that in America others can be experiencing this. Now, I'm not saying, for instance, that it can be cured only by a nurumgut, which is, like I said earlier, a ritual. What I'm saying is that what needs to happen is that people have to understand that in the old world, they have names for these things. They have an understanding of how to facilitate in curing or exercising or working with or invoking these spirits and entities. And so it becomes vital to the American society that these things called Sinbyeong which is, like I said, a form of insanity, is or psychosis and physical pain, has a lot to do with the society that we live in our present society in America, because now we have this idea of, we understand what demonic possession is, but we don't understand it, or we don't understand spirit possession, but we try to understand it, like psychics and everything. This is what it's talking about. It's talking about being able to acknowledge that there is this existence of something called Sinbyeong, and it can affect anyone in the world. It's just that one society has managed to put a name to it and to put an experience to it, because this involves, basically a lot of the different behaviors you see in other movies like The Exorcist, or, Devil Inside. So, or even further than that, like the ecstasy of Saint Teresa, so it can be any type of spiritual entity that makes your body as a vessel. Now, my experience going through Sinbyeong, I have a long experience with Sinbyeong, and sometimes I wonder if I might have been the original person that this was named after, towards the American Medical Society, because I have within my star charts psychic abilities, and so I'm living in America, and so I have to learn how to, adapt to American society. Although there is, I'm completely assimilated to the American society, and although I do have Asian heritage, from Korea, this is just, a glimpse into what the Korean society sees, the spiritual society sees. So therefore, what I'm saying is that, my experiences with Sinbyeong are quite real. I have been hospitalized for these things, and so, but it never cures it. I mean, how do you cure somebody that says, "Oh wait, there's a ghost hanging out there"? They give you a lot of pills in the hospital, but it doesn't cure anything. It just settles you down and relaxes you more and helps you sleep. So, but my experience has always been derived of that order, So I understand this experience of being connected spiritually to a higher divinity or element that is beyond my comprehension. And, especially after, like in one of my videos, I discussed my near-death experience. I think it was really onset from that point at my near-death experience, where I was awakened to go through Sinbyeong. So that, how it can relate to American society and me going through the experience of Sinbyeong, I never was inducted through a Nidam Gut, because I live in Salina, Kansas, so there's not much of a Korean shamanistic tradition here, so I've had to understand and branch out and reach out towards those out in the community to find out more about the spiritual aspects that exist, because I'm an American, so I can only do what Americans do, but I can take elements of what I know from my uh, East Asian heritage and culture and bring them into the American. So anyone that is experiencing these kind of spiritual moments of of being overwhelmed or elated or beyond the control of yourself as an individual, this is what you could be experiencing, and it could be this thing called Sinbyeong, spirit loss. You're going through almost like a psychosis and a spiritual epiphany or awakening, and your body is being affected by this whole experience. So this is what I'm explaining because I don't think a lot of people have much knowledge on this thing called Sinbyeong and how it can seriously affect an individual, and now to be able to be more communed and in line with the spirits and the entities that each person wants to summon and commune with. So you must go through this thing called Sinbyeong to be able to be a part and one with that entity or spirit or God, and become that vessel to breathe out into the world what is being communed from the other, or what is being summoned from the other side. So, all right. I hope you enjoyed this video about Sinbyeong, and I hope it kind of opens a light on what my culture has to offer in terms of educating Western culture of something that already has a name, and what your body and mind will go through once this happens. So I hope you find it interesting on Sinbyeong. So thank you for watching.